Picture this. A quiet morning, the kind where the world seems to hold its breath just before the chaos of the day kicks in. I'm standing at my kitchen window, a chipped ceramic mug of coffee in my hand, watching a single leaf spiral down from the old oak in our backyard. It's a slow, deliberate fall, like it knows exactly where it's meant to land. I'm Emily, 36 years old, and this is the rhythm of my life. Small, predictable moments that somehow feel heavier than they should. That leaf, it's not just a leaf. It's a tiny reminder of time slipping through my fingers, of seasons changing, whether I'm ready or not. I live in a suburban bubble just outside the city, in a house that's more Daniel's dream than mine. Daniel, my husband, is the kind of man who plans everything down to the last detail. He's 38, a structural engineer who can build bridges in his sleep, but sometimes struggles to cross the one between us. We've been married for 9 years, and our home is a tidy split level with beige walls and a lawn that's always mowed on Saturdays. It's the kind of place you'd see on a postcard labeled The American Dream. But some days, I catch myself wondering whose dream I'm actually living. Don't get me wrong, I love Daniel. He's steady, reliable, the kind of person who remembers to check the oil in my car before I even think about it. But there's a quiet ache in me, a whisper I can't quite name that lingers in the spaces between our conversations. This morning, like most mornings, I'm up before him. I've always been an early riser, a habit from my childhood when I'd sneak out of bed to watch the sunrise over the fields near my parents' farm. Back then, the world felt endless, full of possibilities I couldn't yet grasp. Now, my world is this house, this routine. I work from home as a freelance graphic designer, which means my days are a blur of deadlines, client emails, and the occasional Zoom call where I pretend to be more put together than I feel. My office is a small room upstairs, cluttered with sketches and empty coffee cups, a space that's mine, but somehow still feels like it belongs to someone else. I've got a project due today, a logo for a local bakery, but my mind keeps drifting back to that falling leaf, to the way it seemed to pause midair, as if deciding whether to keep going or just give up. Daniel will be down soon, his tie already knotted, his briefcase by the door. He'll kiss me on the cheek, mutter something about a meeting, and then he'll be gone, leaving behind the faint scent of his cologne and a silence that feels louder than it should. We're good at this. The choreography of our mornings. We've perfected the art of moving around each other without really connecting, like two planets in the same orbit, but never quite colliding. I'm still standing there, lost in my thoughts, when last night's conversation with Daniel creeps back into my mind. We were in the living room, the TV humming softly in the background with some documentary neither of us was really watching. He was sitting in his usual spot on the recliner, scrolling through his phone, when he dropped the news so casually it almost didn't register at first. "Hey, Em, I've got some guys coming over tomorrow to help with the new kitchen appliances," he said, not even looking up. "The double oven and that fancy fridge we ordered, they're finally here. I need you to stay home and coordinate things." I blinked at him, caught off guard. Coordinate? Daniel never asks for help, not with anything. He's the guy who spent an entire weekend assembling a bookshelf by himself just to prove he didn't need instructions. So why now? Why me? I opened my mouth to ask, but there was something in his tone, a quiet firmness that told me this wasn't up for debate. I just nodded, mumbling a quick "okay," though confusion churned in my chest. It wasn't like him to leave me in charge of something like this, and I couldn't shake the feeling there was more he wasn't saying. Fast forward to this morning, and I'm back in the kitchen, the scent of fresh coffee filling the air as I try to shake off the lingering unease from last night. I've barely taken my second sip when the doorbell chimes, sharp and insistent, at 7:30 a.m. Way earlier than I expected. My heart gives a little jolt as I set down my mug and shuffle to the door, smoothing my hair back in a futile attempt to look less like I just rolled out of bed. I swing the door open, and there they are. 3 men, filling the porch with a kind of raw, unapologetic energy that hits me like a gust of wind. Daniel's acquaintances, I assume, though he never mentioned names last night. The first one steps forward, a tall, broad-shouldered guy in his early 40s with a confident smirk that seems permanently etched on his face. "Hey there, I'm Mark," he says, extending a hand, his voice deep and smooth. Behind him is Ryan, lean and wiry, probably in his 30s, with sharp eyes that seem to take in everything at once. He lets out a quick laugh as he introduces himself, like we're already in on some private joke. Then there's Caleb, the youngest of the trio, maybe 28, with a boyish grin and an easy charm that makes him seem instantly likable. "Nice place you got here," he says, winking as he steps inside. Before I can even process their arrival, they're streaming into the kitchen, their boots clomping on the hardwood, their laughter bouncing off the walls. It's overwhelming, the way they take over the space like they've been here 100 times before. They start unpacking tools from their bags, hauling in the gleaming new appliances with an ease that makes the heavy steel look like toys in their hands. I stand there, a little awkward, trying to play the part of the helpful host while pointing out where the old oven used to sit and where the fridge should go. The kitchen, my familiar little sanctuary, feels suddenly foreign with their presence. Too small, too crowded, their voices and movements filling every corner. At first, it's all business, a flurry of activity as they work with a kind of synchronized precision that's almost mesmerizing to watch. Mark calls out measurements, Ryan grunts as he lifts a corner of the double oven, and Caleb flashes me a quick smile every now and then, like he's checking to see if I'm still paying attention. I am, more than I should be. As the last appliance slides into place, the atmosphere shifts. It's subtle at first, like the air itself is holding its breath, waiting for something to break. The playful banter that had been floating around while they worked starts to feel heavier, charged with an undercurrent I can't ignore. They're done with the job, the tools packed away, the kitchen looking brand new with its shiny upgrades, but they don't leave. They linger, leaning against counters, wiping sweat from their brows, their eyes finding mine more often than necessary. Mark is the closest, propping himself against the counter right beside me, his arm brushing against mine as he lets out a low chuckle. "You've got a real knack for making a place feel like home, Emily," he says, his voice dipping into something softer, more intimate. "Bet you're a hell of a cook, too." I laugh, a nervous little sound, feeling the heat of his arm through my sleeve, my skin prickling at the contact. I should step away, create some distance, but I don't. Then there's Ryan, who somehow ended up behind me, close enough that I can feel the warmth of his breath on the back of my neck as he leans over to point at a tiny smudge on the new oven door. "Missed a spot here," he murmurs, his voice a quiet rumble that sends a shiver down my spine. I turn my head just slightly, catching the glint in his sharp eyes, and I realize how trapped I am between them, Mark on one side, Ryan on the other. And Caleb, he's not even pretending to be subtle. He's standing across the kitchen, leaning back against the fridge, his arms crossed, just watching me with a grin that's no longer boyish. It's hungry, predatory, and it makes my stomach twist in a way that's not entirely unpleasant. I can feel my pulse hammering in my throat, my thoughts a tangled mess of fear and guilt, and something else, something I haven't felt in so long I almost don't recognize it. Excitement, a dangerous, reckless rush that makes my hands tremble as I grip the edge of the counter for support. I know I should say something, should tell them it's time to go, that I've got work to do, that my husband will be home soon. But the words don't come. Instead, I stand there, frozen, as the space between us seems to shrink with every passing second. My heart is racing so fast I'm sure they can hear it, and I'm horrified to realize that I'm not pulling away. I'm not stopping this. And then, in a moment that feels like it's happening to someone else, I let it happen. I let go of every rule, every promise I've made to Daniel, right here in the heart of our home. The kitchen, with its familiar chaos, the spice rack on the wall, the stack of unwashed plates in the sink, the faint smell of last night's lasagna still lingering in the air, becomes the backdrop to my betrayal. There are 3 of them, and I surrender completely, caught up in a storm of sensation that drowns out everything else. Every touch is electric. Every whispered word sears itself into my memory. Every stolen glance feels like a secret I'll carry forever. I feel more alive than I have in years, like I've been sleepwalking through my life, and just now woken up to a reality I didn't know I was craving. But that high, that reckless abandon, crashes into a chilling stillness the moment I catch a glimpse of movement in the hallway. My breath catches in my throat as I see Daniel standing there, half hidden in the shadow of the doorway, his face unreadable. My heart stops. How long has he been watching? What did he see? His eyes meet mine for a fleeting second, and I swear there's something there. Something that looks almost like approval. A quiet acknowledgement that sends a jolt of confusion through me. Before I can process it, he turns and disappears down the hall, his footsteps silent, leaving me frozen in the aftermath of what just happened. The kitchen falls into an eerie quiet after that, the charged energy from moments ago replaced by a suffocating hush. Mark, Ryan, and Caleb don't seem to notice anything amiss. They're already back to casual chatter, wiping down their hands, packing up the last of their tools, as if nothing out of the ordinary occurred. Mark's talking about some football game from last weekend. Ryan's laughing at a bad joke, and Caleb's asking if they've got time for a quick beer before heading out. Their voices are a distant hum in my ears, like I'm underwater, barely registering the words. My mind is elsewhere, spinning in a frantic loop. Did I imagine Daniel standing there? Was that really his silhouette in the hallway, or just a trick of the light? And if it was him, what was that look in his eyes? I can't shake the image of it, the way it seemed to pierce right through me, not with anger or betrayal, but with something else, something I can't name. My hands are trembling as I grab a rag and start wiping down the counter, scrubbing at invisible stains in a desperate attempt to erase any trace of what just unfolded here. The surface is already spotless, the new appliances gleaming under the overhead lights, but I keep wiping anyway, my movements jerky and uneven. My skin feels too tight, my chest heavy with a mix of shame and a strange, lingering exhilaration that I can't seem to shake. It's like I've crossed a line I didn't even know existed, and now I'm standing on the other side, unsure if I want to run back or keep going. The air in the kitchen still feels thick, saturated with the memory of their hands, their voices, their presence. I can't breathe properly, each inhale shallow and sharp, as if the room itself is pressing down on me. Finally, the men gather their things and head for the door. Mark turns back with a wink, his smirk as confident as ever, and says, "Take care, Emily. We'll be around if you need anything." Ryan's goodbye comes with a sly grin, his sharp eyes lingering on me a little too long, making my stomach twist all over again. Caleb, the last to leave, pauses in the doorway, his voice soft but carrying a weight that makes my skin prickle. "See you soon," he says, and it's not a question. It's a promise. Then they're gone, their truck rumbling down the driveway, leaving me alone in the kitchen. The silence is deafening now, broken only by the faint hum of the new fridge. I stand there, staring at the polished steel of the oven, its reflection mocking me with a distorted version of my own face, wide-eyed, flushed, guilty. An hour later, I hear the front door open again, and my heart lurches into my throat. It's Daniel. He steps into the house like nothing's wrong, his briefcase in hand, his tie slightly loosened after a long day. I'm still in the kitchen, frozen by the sink, a glass of water in my hand that I don't remember pouring. He walks in, glances around, and nods at the new setup with a casual air that feels so wrong it's almost surreal. "Looks good," he says, his voice even, almost too calm. "They got the oven in the right spot. I was worried it'd be off-center." He moves to the cupboard, pulls out a glass, and fills it with water from the tap, every motion deliberate, mundane. I'm standing in the kitchen again, the morning light filtering through the window and casting long shadows across the countertops. It's a new day, a second visit scheduled, and my nerves are raw, frayed at the edges like an old piece of fabric. I'm wearing a simple dress, nothing fancy, just pale blue cotton that falls to my knees, but I feel exposed, vulnerable, as if the thin fabric can't hide the storm of emotions churning inside me. My hands fidget with a dish towel, folding and unfolding it, as I wait for the inevitable. That moment from the first visit, Daniel's silhouette in the hallway, his unreadable gaze, has haunted me ever since. I've replayed it 1,000 times, trying to decipher what I saw in his eyes, trying to convince myself it wasn't what I thought. But deep down, I know. I felt it. And today, I'm not sure if I'm dreading what's coming or craving the clarity it might bring. The doorbell cuts through the silence, sharp and demanding, and my heart stumbles in my chest. I take a shaky breath, smooth my dress one last time, and walk to the door. When I open it, I'm met with not 3, but 4 faces this time. Mark is there, his familiar smirk already in place, exuding that same bold confidence. Ryan stands beside him, his sharp eyes scanning me with an intensity that makes my skin prickle. Caleb, with his easy grin, gives me a quick nod, like we're old friends catching up. And then there's a new man, someone I haven't seen before. He's in his late 30s, I'd guess, with a quiet demeanor that contrasts with the others. His name is Ethan. He tells me in a low, steady voice, and his intense eyes seem to see right through me, like he's already piecing together the secrets I'm trying to keep. Their energy fills the porch, a wave of raw presence that washes over me as they step inside, their boots heavy on the floor. I glance past them into the house, and there's Daniel, already in the living room. Unlike last time, he's not at work or hidden away. He's home, and he greets them with a casual nod, his posture relaxed, almost too calm. It's surreal, watching him shake hands with Mark, exchange a quick word with Ryan, as if this is just another day, just another gathering of buddies. My stomach twists as I linger by the doorway, feeling like an outsider in my own home. Then, Daniel does something that stops me cold. Instead of stepping back, instead of letting me handle things like before, he moves toward the hallway door himself. He swings it open with a deliberate motion, gesturing for the men to head in. And as he does, he turns to me. His eyes meet mine, and there's a faint, unreadable smile on his lips. It's not warm, not cold, just there, like a puzzle piece I can't fit into place. My breath catches as he speaks, his voice low but clear, cutting through the hum of conversation around us. Today, there'll be one more. The words hit me like a punch, stealing the air from my lungs. One more. Ethan. He means Ethan. But it's not just about the number of men in the room. It's the way he says it, the weight behind each syllable, the implication that he's not just aware of what's happening, he's orchestrating it. My mind reels, a flood of emotions crashing over me all at once. Shock, sharp and cold, pierces through the haze I've been living in since that first encounter. Confusion swirls in its wake, making my thoughts a tangled mess as I try to grasp how long he's known, how much he's planned. And then there's something else, something I didn't expect, a twisted sense of relief. I'm not imagining his complicity. I'm not crazy for thinking I saw approval in his eyes that day. It's real. He's part of this, and that realization shifts the ground beneath me in a way I can't fully process. As the men move into the hallway, their voices a low murmur that fades into the background, I'm left standing there, my heart pounding so hard it feels like it might break through my chest. The days following that second encounter with Mark, Ryan, Caleb, and now Ethan have been a strange, surreal blur. Daniel and we don't talk about it. Not a word. There's no confrontation, no tearful confession, no angry accusations. Instead, there's this unspoken thing between us, a quiet understanding that hangs in the air like the faint scent of rain before a storm. It's not something I can touch or name, but I feel it in every glance, every pause, every moment we share in this house that used to feel so predictable. Our marriage, our life. It's shifted, tilted on its axis, and I'm not sure if we're falling or finding a new way to stand. In the days after, I noticed the small changes, the subtle ways our dynamic has morphed into something I don't fully recognize. I'm in the kitchen more often now, almost instinctively, as if it's the only place I can process what's happened. I'll be chopping vegetables for dinner, the sharp scent of onions stinging my eyes, and I'll catch Daniel watching me from the doorway. It's not the critical gaze I used to feel, the one that made me second-guess every slice, every stir, worried I wasn't doing it right by his standards. Now there's something else in his eyes. Anticipation, maybe, or curiosity. It's like he's waiting to see what I'll do next, not just with the food, but with us, with this new, unspoken territory we've stumbled into. It makes my skin prickle, not with fear, but with a strange kind of awareness, like I'm seeing him for the first time in years. And then there are the moments when I catch him smiling to himself. A small, private curve of his lips when he thinks I'm not looking. I'll be wiping down the counter, the cloth gliding over the smooth surface, and I'll glance over to see him at the table, flipping through a magazine or scrolling on his phone, that faint smile playing on his face. It's not the polite, perfunctory smile he used to give during our routine conversations about bills or weekend plans. This one feels secret, loaded with something I can't decipher, and it sends a shiver through me every time. Is he thinking about what happened? About what he saw, what he allowed, what he orchestrated? Or is it something else entirely? Something I haven't even begun to understand? As for me, I'm caught in this weird dance of emotions, a mix of empowerment and uncertainty that I can't quite untangle. Standing at the stove, stirring a pot of soup, the steam rising in warm, comforting waves, I feel a rush of something powerful. I've broken rules I didn't even know I was bound by, stepped outside the neat little box of my life, and in those forbidden moments, I felt alive in a way I hadn't in years. But with that comes the uncertainty, the gnawing question of what we've unleashed. Is this a one-time thing? A fleeting crack in the foundation of our marriage that we'll patch up and move past? Or is it a silent agreement to explore further, to push boundaries we've never dared to touch before? I don't know, and the not knowing keeps me awake at night, staring at the ceiling while Daniel sleeps beside me, his breathing steady and calm, as if nothing in the world has changed. I do know one thing for certain, our marriage will never be the same. The kitchen, once just a place for meals and mundane routines, is now a space charged with secrets, with memories of touches and whispers that linger in the air like the faint aroma of garlic after a long day of cooking. Every time I walk in here, I'm reminded of those encounters, of the way my world tilted, of Daniel's quiet complicity. It's both thrilling and terrifying, a tightrope I'm walking without a net, unsure if I'll fall or find my balance. There's this one evening that keeps replaying in my mind, a moment that feels like a snapshot of our intertwined destinies. where the sunset painted us in hues of possibility, and the silence between us spoke louder than any words ever could. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories for you.